What up, baby? Y'all already know what time it is. It's time to circle up. I can never get that fully right. I always feel like I do it wrong. Anyway, welcome back to our channel, guys. I'm here today in a different room in our house, by the way, in our guest room. Just wanted to give you guys a different scenery. I'm coming to you guys today with my postpartum experience. So as many of you know, I am a first-time mother. I gave birth last December, and I just wanted to share with you guys the postpartum experience that I had, and you know, share your postpartum experience in the comments, whatever, you know. I love hearing everybody's different experiences because every experience is so different. I got my thoughts in line because sometimes when I start talking, I just start talking, so I have all my thoughts together. Anyway, let's get into this video. So first, directly after birth, as you all have probably seen from our labor and delivery video, how our whole birthing process went. So after I gave birth and we got back to the room, all of the pain and everything that other people have said that they have experienced, I didn't really experience. So directly after birth really wasn't that difficult. The only thing that was obviously difficult, I know for me, I had major trouble breastfeeding, latching for her. It's almost like we got it right, but it wasn't like absolutely right. It was a challenge for sure, but probably the worst part about directly after birth was probably not sleeping. But I don't know, I didn't really feel it too much because even before we had her, Chris and I were always on the go. We were always doing something, so it's almost like we barely slept. But I know every time we told people that, they were like, oh well, you're not, you know, it'll be a whole different level when you have a baby, which is true. But I don't know, it was like I was okay with it. So at first, and mind you, this is all like directly after, like this is like the next day, because I think we spent 2 nights in the hospital, which we were a little annoyed about, but we spent 2 nights in the hospital. It was like, you know, the sleeping portion was okay. So I was fine up until we got home. So the first week of, you know, being home and everything, it's like, it was okay. Definitely very tiring, especially if you're breastfeeding. I shout out to any mom that has breastfed past a month. Breastfeeding is the most difficult thing, and I absolutely do not recommend any person who has not breastfed to downplay breastfeeding because it is tiring. It drains all of your energy. It takes a lot of focus, a lot of determination. Like, it's a lot. For me, I only breastfed for the first 3 weeks for a couple of reasons. One, because I hate water, so I didn't drink very much water. And I know that I had watched a ton of YouTube videos before I had Aaron, and I was like, okay, well, you know, everybody had different advice about how they, you know, did their breastfeeding journey, and it's a lot. I could not drink that much water. So number one, that was my downfall, was the water thing, and not really the stuff that you had to eat. I always just eat random stuff. Definitely having to cut out the spicy stuff was a little hard, but I mean, it was like whatever. But I stopped after 3 weeks because I was ready to get back to church. I was ready to get back into, I didn't really care about work. I cared about church. So I was ready to get back into church. I was ready to, you know, help in any way that I could, you know, all that stuff. I was just in such a rush, and I wanted, you know, there was events going on, there were people were having this, that, and the third, and I wanted to be there. So I was trying to think of, okay, how can I manage my church responsibilities and manage feeding you, and you eat so much. She ate so much. I had researched a lot about formula and everything, so anyway, I'm spending too much time on this feeding section, but I ended up giving her formula so that I could balance everything, because number one, even before I went back to church, I wasn't producing enough, and it was frustrating to me, and I was getting really annoyed because it just seemed like she was never fully satisfied, and I felt guilty, like, dude, like, what do I do differently? Like, how can I make this better? Like, you know. So I just went ahead and I was like, you know what, we just have to get formula. And the formula journey also is so difficult. Like, just figuring stuff out is very frustrating. So the formula journey was very frustrating. I was terrified. I was asking so many people for advice. I couldn't tell you how much money we spent on different formulas to try and figure it out. And up until like 2 months ago, I finally figured out like the trick to this whole thing. So well, at least I know for us, because every baby is different, but you know, they say that there's some sort of bacteria inside of formula, and before 3 months a baby's stomach really can't handle it. So you have to do all this stuff to, like, you know, make the water a certain temperature when you're mixing the formula together and blah 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 blah. It was a whole bunch of stuff, but they said if you use the ready to feed formula, which we did end up using for Erin for her first 3 months. So after we failed at powder so bad, we finally ended up using Similac sensitive ready to feed, and it's already together, and I don't know why, but it just helps their stomach so they can process it so much better. To this day, I don't know why, but for any of you moms out there, if you're struggling with powdered formula, you could try ready to feed. I know it seems really weird because I was very doubtful about it, because it's like, it's milk that's sitting on a shelf for God knows how long, you know, how good is that? But it really helped Erin. She was able to process it, and all was well for real. So that was a very frustrating leap I had to jump over within the first few weeks and stuff. So I would say ask all the people around. I asked everybody I possibly could. I was looking for advice everywhere, just to see, in my mind and my heart still wasn't settled. And it's definitely a risk, because anything you give your child is a risk. Everything is a risk. So it was very, very hard for me. The whole feeding process was very stressful. We didn't really get it under control and like feel at peace with it until we figured out the whole ready to feed formula thing. And she's growing beautifully. She's, you know, wonderful. She's wonderfully growing. Every time I went to the doctor, I was always so nervous, but she's growing great. So, you know, I don't knock anyone who chooses to do formula, because I know the experience for myself. It was very, very rough, and you know, I always tell myself for my next child, I'll probably try my best to drink more water and to focus more so they can have breast milk. But at the end of the day, God protects my children. So whatever I give them, God's covering my babies. They'll be good once I figure everything out. So anyway, in regards to postpartum depression, I really didn't start feeling it until I got back into the swing of life. Now, before, I was like, you know, I put in my head I was determined, and everybody has different thoughts on this, but I was like, depression and anxiety is not what God has given me. And yes, I understand that flesh is, you know, it happens, you're a human being, but I was determined. I was like, depression, anxiety, anger, sadness, all that stuff God did not purpose and destine for me to have. So I'm determined to not have that overtake me. I'll be look at my baby, be proud and be happy to have her, and you know, call it a day. And I had to say those things to myself every single day after she was born. But when we got back into the swing of life, now just to give you guys a peek into our life, when I went back to work, which was about, it had to have been about 3 or 4 weeks in. I went back to work when she was about 3 or 4 weeks old. I didn't really have that much leave. I had to use my own leave, whatever. So getting back into that, so I had to wake up for work at 5 a.m. on the road by 6:15 to not be late. And Christopher had to get up, depending on the day, around 6-7 o'clock. So for me, as just a person in general, like how I am, if I can do something, I'm gonna take into account the other person more than myself, no matter what. So for me, having her and being back into the swing of things, and she's eating every single 2 hours, what would happen is she would get fed about 11, and then wake up again about, what is that, 1, and then wake up again about 3. Now I have to be ready by 5, and sometimes when she would eat in the middle of the night, she would stay up for about 30 minutes afterwards. She wouldn't really fall asleep. She would fall asleep towards the end. So by the time she finally fell back to sleep, it was time for me to get ready to work. So it would be me waking up at 3 a.m. as opposed to me waking up at like 5 a.m. And then when I go to bed at night, if there's no church and if there's nothing that I have to do at home, you're going to bed at like 11 p.m. or whenever she goes back down after her last feeding, so maybe 1 a.m. and then you're back up at 3, and then you're gone for the whole rest of the day. So, and I know that when she was younger, people were like, okay, well, sleep when she sleeps throughout the day. And this was before I went back to work, like sleep when she sleeps. Even then I couldn't do that, because if you're thinking about it, when you get up, like your body's accustomed to getting up for the day. And this is just how it was for me. Your body is like ready to get up and go for the day. So me, how I was before is you're getting up in the morning, you get ready, and then you just go for the rest of the day, and you just go to bed at night. But when I had her, it was almost like I was never actually sleeping, because when she would sleep during the day and I'm already up, like let's say I have fed her at like 7 or 6 or whatever, I would just be up for the rest of the time. And then you go back to bed again at 11 or 1 or whenever. So it was like a cycle of just no sleep, which is basic, you know, when you have a baby, no sleep, whatever. I was like, okay, whatever, I can do this, and constantly talking to myself, and that was, you know, before. But when work got into it, and church and everything, because obviously pre-COVID we were doing everything, so you had church Wednesday, you had practice Thursday, you had church on Sunday, and then, you know, maybe an event on Saturday, maybe something after church on Sunday. You know, you never know. It's just a, you know, constant go, 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 go. Then you have work, and you have family events, you have this and that and the third, whatever. So it was a constant go. So I literally, my energy was so low. I was so exhausted. I was just like dying inside. And I was like, I literally can't do this. And then like in the middle of the night, it was probably its worst, because the time I had to get up for work. And then you think I have to drive like 2 hours to get to work every day. I was just like, this is a lot on just a person's body. So one night, it was so interesting, because I used to pray really, really hard, like, and during those times, like when she would wake up to eat at 3 and I had to get ready at 5, whatever, during that time I used to pray so hard. I'm like, God, I don't want to be depressed. I don't want to feel like, you know, I can't do this. I don't want to feel like I'm alone in this, whatever. Like, just, you know, give me something to like go off of. Because for me, if she's breastfeeding, right, or if she is, you know, or, you know, we gave her Similac around that time, so she's bottle feeding or whatever, and I know that, you know, obviously, you know, Chris can probably get up and go get something and come back, and he did sometimes, but my thing is, he was just as tired as me. So it's like, if I am already up and it's just like, okay, well, because I had the monitor closest to me, or their bassinet was on my side, depending on, you know, when it was, if I can do it, or if I get up, I'm just gonna do it. I'm not gonna wake you out of your sleep and make you do it. I don't know, it's just something inside of me, and I never felt like animosity about it. I never felt angry about it. Like, that's just who I am. So, and it used to always annoy him, because he's like, dude, just wake me up and I can do it. Like, I know, like, we're both tired, but just wake me up and I can do it. Like, but there was nothing, I've just always been that way. If I can just do it and you can get more sleep, or you can whatever, because I just knew the situation we were in, I was like, dude, I'll just do it. So obviously I probably should have taken advantage of, you know, that, and just, you know, told him like, hey, can you get up and help me? And there were times that I did not wake him up, and he woke up on his own, and he would just sit up with me. Sometimes the best part of the whole process was when he would sit up, and it would probably be like 4 in the morning, and we would just sit up and just talk to each other. Like, she would probably be asleep by then, or, you know, just kind of trying to get her burp out, or, you know, her tummy isn't feeling well. We would just sit up and we would just talk. And, you know, just him being awake in my space, like, I loved that. So, you know, I didn't ask for much, but definitely the cycle kind of definitely made me tired, so I felt weak sometimes. So I was like, God, please help me through this. So one night, I always play white noise for Erin, so all night long she is always hearing white noise, even to this day. And I always play it for my phone. So I was looking through the comments on the white noise video, because I was up and she was kind of in between sleep. So I was looking through the comments, and it was so crazy. It was this one comment that was in there, and I'll never forget. It said like, if you're a mom and you're up right now, I know that, you know, you're struggling. I know you're tired. I know that, you know, you feel like, you may even feel alone. You may feel like you can't do it anymore, but I'm here to tell you, you can do it. Stay strong. You know, just look at that face, look at that angel face that God has given you. Like, just be strong, and that you're, you know, you're taking care of this baby. You know, you can do anything, whatever. Just a bunch of encouraging words. And my heart was so full in that moment. I was like, and mind you, this was at like 4:30 in the morning. It's just me awake, and Erin like in and out of sleep, or just, you know, sitting there staring at me. And I felt so full in that moment. I was like, wow, like, this is something that every mom should probably be able to see in the middle of the night, because really all throughout the day nothing hits you. Like, or well, I won't speak for anybody else. Throughout the day nothing else hit me. Throughout the day you're good. Like, everybody's up with you throughout the day. You're texting, you're on social media, everybody's up. But in the dead of night, when everybody's asleep and you are awake, and it's just you and baby, especially if baby doesn't fall back to sleep, because sometimes Erin didn't fall asleep until like 5 a.m. So we're like up the whole time, not even a little like 30-minute nap before or whatever. Like we're like up. So in those dead of night moments, it's like you just wish that somebody, you know, you just had something or someone, or it could just be different, or maybe just go to sleep and just sleep tonight or whatever. Like you just ask for something to just give you energy, give you life. That was probably when I felt it the most. Is in like the dead of night when we were back to our regular schedule, because Chris and I's schedule was always crazy. I don't think anybody ever really understood how crazy Chris and I's schedules were, and it even still is to this day. But I truly feel like I always tell myself every single day, well, especially when I start to feel tired, that to whom much is given, much is required. So I just say, you know, I'm gonna work hard because I'm working for God. Do things as though you're working for the Lord, not for people. That's what the Bible says. So when I wake up in the morning and I have 1,000,010 things to do, I'm not doing it for anybody but God. You know, no matter if it's for work, if it's for church, if it's for family, whoever, you know, I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it because I'm doing it for God. God has ordained my life, everything. So I'm working hard because, you know, he's giving me a life. Anyway, I prayed nonstop to fight that depression. And yes, I'm not gonna say I didn't experience it, you know, a few times. Like it was never constant. It was definitely gradual, but it was never like constant. Like it was, you know, some days, some thoughts were worse than others, you know, whatever. But it was never like a constant, like, I'm like ready to kill myself, you know, like it was never super constant, which I thank God for. I just constantly prayed. And I was just like, you know, I just know for a fact, God, you did not, there's nowhere in the Bible that says that you've given me this depression, anxiety, sadness, and given room for that in my life. So I don't want it in my life. I don't want to look at this beautiful baby that's requiring so much from me and regret her, you know, because it's a true feeling of, you know, postpartum depression. So that's just my personal experience. Definitely it does happen. I've had horrible thoughts sometimes, but I just had to pray through them when they come in and just, you know, get it out of my head and just remind myself of who I am in Christ and what I can do. You know, childbearing is definitely a lot. Having a child is definitely a lot, and it's a lot all throughout, because even sometimes, like when Aaron's teething, there were some nights where I was like, oh my goodness. Even when we're home because of COVID, you know, her teething and waking up every she's really good with her teething, don't get me wrong. Like we are blessed beyond belief, because there are other babies. I know that my co-workers have told me that they have babies that wake up literally every hour and cannot, like, trying to go back to sleep is like crazy. So we are blessed because she sleeps mostly throughout the night, but her teething process, sometimes getting up every 2 hours and she just sits up and stares at you, and you know, stuff like all that is hard. So it's a constant, you know, it's constant taking so much from you. You probably will never sleep, you know, but I just had to keep praying and keep praying. Well, the things I always tell myself I will probably do different next time. I really do want to try to breastfeed longer, even through everything that we have to do, because no matter how trying and how hard our schedules are, I still want to kind of try it. I mean, like I said before, Aaron has been growing beautifully, you know, with formula. I'm totally not against formula. Formula babies are great, and breastfed babies are great. They're all God's kids, and he takes care of them. And you know, I have nothing to worry. But I just want to try the experience to just see how, you know, see how it is, see if I can do it. And that is whenever I decide, or God tells me that I can, you know, go ahead and have a second baby, because like I said, life is crazy 24/7. So to fit a second baby in there, definitely not anytime soon. But definitely my experience was different. I mean, my entire pregnancy and baby experience was different than other people's. When you're moving as a new mom, and I forgot this in the beginning of my afterbirth experience, when you're moving around as a new mom, be careful, because I took advantage of how fine my body felt after. And I was just going. One day I messed up, and Erin was in the swing, and I was trying to get her out of the swing. I dropped down into like a squat really fast. I don't know what I did. I don't know what I did. I'm not gonna do TMI because I don't know who's gonna watch this video, but I don't know what I did. But whatever I did caused me to have some serious pain. So do not take advantage of how your body feels if you feel fine, because I did have a regular birth. Regular epidural, I pushed, whatever. I think she scratched me coming out, so I had like the tiniest stitches or whatever, but I took advantage of how fine I felt. And everybody's like, oh, relax, lay down, do whatever. I was going. I was doing whatever I could around the house, whatever. I just dropped down that one day to get her out of the swing and into a squat, and oh my goodness, the pain afterwards. And it took weeks for me to get the pain under control. So just don't take advantage of your body if you do feel fine. Everybody feels different after birth, obviously, but if you do feel fine, like how I felt completely fine, just still be careful, because I totally took advantage of that. But I hope that something that I said could help someone else out there. If there's anything I could ever tell you, is just talk to your Father in heaven. That's literally all I can tell you. He will tell you, and he will talk to you. And then who's up in the dead of night with you? He's up in the dead of night with you, because God never sleeps. You talk to him, you just air your grievances out and just how you feel and whatever, and just pray over your babies. Like, I know this probably has nothing to do with anything, but it was so interesting. One time I was nervous because Aaron wasn't self-feeding, and everything I see online and everything I read says, oh, they should be self-feeding by 8 months or whatever. And you see people feeding their kids like chunks of food at like 6 months, 7 months, and I have this horrible tendency to compare. So I was like, God, please just touch her. Like, I don't know if I did something wrong where she's not self-feeding already. Like, she's gonna be a year soon. Like, please, literally, I'm not lying to you. The next day, because I always used to practice self-feeding with her, the next day she picked up a broccoli stalk by herself and put it in her mouth. Has never done that before. Like, she would never hold the food. She would never even go for the food. Like, she would slap it, play in it, move it around, like, and sometimes she'll just stare at you like, what? Never did it. The next day, she was like, she picked up that broccoli stalk, put it in her mouth, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, are you serious? Like, it wasn't me trying to rush her process or anything, but that was my nerves. But I guess God just showed me, like, she can do it. She's all right. And whatever, however you touched her, whatever he did, pray. Just pray. Like, if you're a new mom, just go ahead and pray over your situation. Pray while you're up at night. Just talk to God, and he'll just bring you that peace that passes all understanding. We're all fleshly. We're all gonna have those moments. Like I said, I had thoughts about depression, and I felt terrible sometimes. Not thoughts about depression, but I felt terrible sometimes throughout this process. But I just tried to pray constantly, and then that comment came across on that YouTube video, and I just couldn't believe it. And I just felt just an overwhelming sensation of like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so full right now. Like, yes, I can do it. Whatever. Sometimes you just need those things. So God knows what you need. He'll give it to you when you ask for it. So yeah, I hope this touched someone. I hope that you all just enjoyed, hearing about it. I don't know. Whatever it did, I pray for all you mothers out there with new babies, and growing babies and teething babies and talking babies and everything. Being a mom is not easy. And I commend you all and how much you work, and people out there who have probably schedules even crazier than Chris and I's, definitely possible. I just, pray for you all, pray for your families, and just pray that God continues to touch you and give you the strength that you need to, keep going and to stay strong and to be confident that you're a great mother, and to not feel any shame or guilt about anything. You're an awesome mother, and awesome parents for your baby, So yeah, I love you all. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.